Well, guys, it's been a week of snow. Been trapped inside for a week without a lot to do other than ride Zwift, and I wrote a video script. Ooh. Mage. We're gonna get really dorky. Okay guys, today's video is not going to be like what I normally make. Instead of droning on about bicycles or something, I'm going to drone on about philosophy, specifically from this game, Mage the Ascension. Now, if you've never heard of this, you're probably not a giant nerd, so congratulations. I think this will be interesting, and I promise it's not going to be political, or I don't want it to be political. It's just me, some thoughts that have been in the back of my head that were triggered recently that I wanted to make a video about. So, first off, what is it? Mage the Ascension, it's an RPG game from the 90s. I think it said 1993, and it's weird, okay? It's not like Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it's not set in the fantasy world or something. It is, but it's our modern world, but with some changes. This comes from the same studio, White Wolf Games, who brought us Vampire the Masquerade, another nerd drop, if you know what it is. It's pretty cool role-playing game, story sort of thing. By the way, White Wolf games, they never really appealed to me as games that much. I never even really played them. I just always thought the stories were, and the whole worlds that they created were really interesting, you know? So anyway, these are modern day magicians. They use their knowledge and their power to shape reality. And I wouldn't be surprised if this influenced The Matrix. You know, The Matrix has a lot of connections. I bet the sisters who made The Matrix, brothers at the time, sisters now, played this game or had read it or heard about it, because there's a lot of things that are similar. So Mark Zuckerberg made an announcement recently, and that's what got this idea in my head. And if you saw that video, it was kind of weird. Like, it just, like, he just, I don't know, I didn't know who it was when I first saw it, with the curly hair and his like super clean skin. I don't know if he's trying to look younger and younger. I don't know what the deal is, but anyway, so Zuckerberg said Facebook was going to stop using fact checkers, instead use community notes. From my understanding, basically this means the community kind of polices itself, and they can vote on whether they think something is true or not, whether it will be flagged as being, you know, possibly untrue. So why am I talking about this? Well, one thing that makes Mage so unique is that the concept is it's based on reality that is consensual. Basically, the rules of the universe are not concrete. They're agreed upon by all living things. And if a person has enough power and belief in themselves, they can bend these rules and shape reality and actually turn reality into something else. So if you're a mage and you believe so much that you can create, and you know the theory and all that, you understand this so well that you can create like a circle of salt that will protect you from evil forces or something, then that will actually happen, right? I feel like the modern world is starting to turn into this game. Like, I've noticed as a fan of science fiction and stuff in throughout my life, like, there's a lot of things in science fiction I've read, and I'm like, you know, that's actually happening. I guess that's kind of the point of science fiction sometimes. But, okay, so how is this game becoming like the modern world? I've got some examples here. First off, politics and media. Well, obviously, we have these echo chambers online where people only hear the thing that they want to hear. Their reality is continually, constantly, you know, given to them by other people who believe the same thing they do, and they never hear an opposite viewpoint or an opposite opinion. Or if they do hear it, it's like obviously wrong, like it's presented in a way where it's just not correct. Post-truth politics. Politicians, they're not really using facts, policies, and truth to appeal to voters, but instead using feelings and emotions and what people want to hear. And then there's even deep fakes where we won't even be able to tell, like through technology, whether something is real or not in the future. I think that's going to be a challenge. And then another example is crypto and NFTs. This stuff is just, it's bizarre to me because like crypto has no real bearing on reality. It's completely fake, and at the same time it's worth, you know, millions and millions and billions and billions and trillions of dollars. Who knows how much? I don't know. It's all imaginary though, because there's the only thing that makes crypto have any value is the system that itself, people believe in the system, that this has money. I think you can make the argument that's the only reason why our our US dollars have any value. People believe in the system, but at least you can say, well, there's this government that has, reserve that backs this up, and there's this entire system managing this, whereas crypto's just algorithms. Science denial is another example. Anti-vaccination folks, anti-climate change deniers, people who have turn their back on scientific consensus and experts and say, I've done my own research and I've discovered what I believe is true, and what you're telling me is false because you're trying to control me or something. Self-branding. Now, this is interesting. Like when people who are through like social media influencers and stuff, they've created their own, like they're not even really real. It's like they're a character of themselves. I'm sure this has been going on forever, but with social media, it's so easy and common now, whereas like it's like people, you don't even know if that's the real person or just their online persona, their brand that they use to represent themselves. Another example is wellness movements. People turning their back on traditional medicine, traditional beliefs, and instead thinking things like crystals. Steve Jobs thinking that fruit could somehow save his life. Gender identity is another example where people feel so adamantly that they're not the correct gender that they will, try to bend and shape reality to make that match the way they feel inside. So in Mage, I think this is really interesting. There's this concept called paradox. It's a key part of the game. Basically, it's what prevents you from just running around and doing whatever you want. Reality doesn't want to be changed. That's the fact. The combined power of all people's beliefs, it will defend reality. So when a character tries to change it, then it will come back and slap them down. It's called backlash. So the bigger change you make, and the more people see it, the bigger the response. So like if you light a candle with your finger, a couple people see it, like, oh, that's a magic trick. How'd they do that? It's not that big of a deal. But if you fire off a fireball in the middle of a crowded, street or mall and blow up a truck or something from just your bare hand, then paradox is going to smack you down. And that's really cool. And it reminds me so much of something in modern culture, cancel culture, where society decides to take collective action against somebody who they feel like has, done something against the rules and needs to be, put in their place, removed, and taken away from any influence that they might have. So just like in Mage, the consequences of your canceling depend a lot about, the perceived like violation that you created and the visibility of that creation, and the visibility of that violation, like how many people noticed it. If you do something like very, very visible, you're likely to get a lot more backlash, a lot more repercussions. Okay, so sure, this comparison has its limits. It's not a game. The world's not a game. We can't change the laws of science, right? Well, I don't know. Science, even basic physical laws, they seem to be changing. Like quantum computers. I don't have a clue what makes a quantum computer work, but they can solve problems that would take a regular computer 100,000 years. Nuclear fusion seems to be on the horizon. Like I keep hearing more and more about nuclear fission could happen any day. Free energy, unlimited free, clean energy. Gene editing with CRISPR, it could radically change the human experience. We can change reality in ways that would have seemed like magic to people just a few generations ago. But at what cost? Take climate change, for example. In just 100 years, we've burned carbon that took millions of years to form deep into Earth, and we're pumping it right back into the atmosphere. And yet so many people collectively believe climate change isn't real, or maybe it's just not that big of a deal. That kind of thinking, it could lead to the ultimate paradox. Just think about it. Like, how can society function if people can't even agree on what's true? How can humanity survive if fundamental shared concepts like gender are completely open to individual interpretation, perhaps even on a daily basis? You don't even know what body you're in every day. What happens to democracy if the winner of elections isn't the best leader, but the person who's the best at getting people to believe their lies? This freedom to create our own reality is coming at a cost. fragmentation. People are so wrapped up in their own beliefs, convinced that their cause is the only one that matters. So many of us live in these online echo chambers, and we care more about strangers online than we do about our own families. And some people are so committed to their version of reality that they'd rather drive off the metaphysical cliff than admit that they could be wrong. Freedom and creativity are amazing. They're what make life worth living. But for society to function, we have to have some shared concrete beliefs, some principles. Without those, the foundations that let's tackle these big challenges, they just will crumble, and society will crumble. It's a scary thought. And while this is a really fun, interesting, cool game, it's a game, and it's not a world I want to live in. So I hope that in the future, we kind of realize that just because we believe something doesn't make it true.